It was the spring of 2018. My brother Jacob, our friend Andy, and I were headed to the Black Hills on a fishing trip. Our main objective was to find new trout spots around Spearfish Canyon, but we were also making a video out of the trip that would be a sequel to our Utah adventure, Trip of Outlaws Volume 1. I never published the project because some behind-the-scenes struggles and a disastrous accident prevented the film from coming together how I wanted. But in spite of the setbacks, bad weather, and overall lack of fish, we still had a great time, and I managed to capture some of the most beautiful drone footage of my entire filmmaking career. So now, after almost 2 years, here is the unreleased Trip of Outlaws Volume 2. The trip started off perfectly normal. The plan was I would head up to the Black Hills a couple days before Andy and Jacob would drive up and join me. Because there was no need for me to rush, I took my time making my way through the Black Hills all the way up north to Spearfish Canyon, where I found us a great campsite and settled in to wait for Andy and Jacob to join me later that evening. It was at this point, when Andy and Jacob were driving up after dark to join me, that disaster struck. Earlier that afternoon, the weather had turned bad and it had been raining all day in the canyon. This caused a decent-sized rock to fall down the canyon wall and onto the dirt road that led to our campsite. Andy was driving the car and he didn't see it in time to avoid it. He ran over the rock, which punched a giant hole in the oil pan of Jacob's car. Oil and transmission fluid were leaking everywhere, and the car was totally out of commission. Because there is very limited cell phone reception in that part of the canyon, it took a long time for them to communicate to me what had happened. By the time I went down the road in my 4Runner to check on them, they had hiked almost 2 miles and had made it almost all the way to me. The next couple of days were an awkward mess of getting Jacob's car towed into Spearfish to be repaired and making multiple trips into town to check on it. Somehow we still managed to squeeze in a few times to fish, but if the inconvenience with the car wasn't bad enough, the weather just kept getting worse.
Alright. Ah! Oh, my body hates doing this! Stop it! You animal! This is awkward because I didn't know you were... Are you filming or are you photographing right now?
Take a wild guess.
T-bite. Well. You know. Do you think I should maybe... Why?
Turn off the lights and let me feel you. I don't want...
We did actually catch a handful of fish on this trip, even though overall the fishing was not great. The reason that you don't actually see any of those catches on video is because our bad luck seemed to persist and we never managed to have the cameras rolling and a fish being caught at the same time. If you really are interested in seeing some of the beautiful browns we did catch on that trip, I'm pretty sure that you can find some on both my Instagram and my brother Jacob's at Living on the Fly. But in the case of this video, our bad luck combined with bad weather, cold and numb fingers just meant that we didn't really manage to get any of those catches on film. In spite of that, we really did have a good time braving the elements together on the trip, even though it rained most of the time and we even got hailed on for a while. But right as we arrived at this location on one of the final afternoons of the trip, the weather actually cleared up for a little while, allowing us to relax, take in the stunning views, and soak up some sunshine.
Cried on the phone again, I'm sorry. You don't need to think about me breaking down. Looking for guidance, but there's no advice to give, 'cause I'm the only one who can figure it out. Where will we go? Oh, why am I afraid to be alone? Sinking in petals, looking for the bottom. Where will we go?
The next day, with the weather foggy and drizzly again, Andy and I left the camp and hiked toward a spot high on the canyon wall. See, I'd actually been to this campsite before when I was very young, and while exploring with my aunts, uncles, and cousins, we found a cave hidden high in the canyon walls, and I wanted to see if I could find it again from memory. I was excited to discover that my memory had not failed me. It was still there, just like I remembered. With that, our misadventures in Spearfish Canyon came to a close. The next morning, on my way home, I stopped by one of our favorite spots, Sylvan Lake, to hang out a little bit with Griffin and fly the drone one more time. everybody. I just wanted to take a second and say thank you so much for watching Trip of Outlaws Volume 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching all the stuff I make and being a supporter. I'd also like to say a quick thank you to Dry Duck, who sent us some awesome gear to test out on this trip. As you can see, we hit some kind of unpredictable and not so great weather conditions, and so having gear that was versatile and reliable was really awesome. So thanks again for Dry Duck for being awesome and sending us stuff to use and test out like that. So once again, I hope you enjoyed Trip of Outlaws Volume 2. Thanks for watching, and again, get outside with your dogs. Good boy. Bye, everybody.